On July 26, 2016, Kelly Moore called 911, claiming that her brother Shane Moore had just been shot and killed outside of her home. When the police arrived on scene, they found Shane's body lying in front of the home with a single gunshot wound to his upper body. Kelly and her daughter Tucker Moore wouldn't tell the police who shot Shane, only that he was shot in self-defense. The police then brought Kelly and Tucker down to the police department so they could give their statements. They decide to start with Kelly. Kelly begins telling the detectives about a recent physical altercation her daughter Tucker had with Shane that led to Tucker pressing charges against him.
And my daughter came to my rescue and said to him to get off the porch, go away, you stupid drug addict, because she was afraid for me. Mm-hmm. He picked up one of those, what is that? 2 quarts or half-gallon thing of motor oil, plastic container, mostly full, leaned back and overhanded it through my ancient screen into Tucker's face, knocked her down to the floor. It hit her so hard. Could have taken out her eye, but it hit her on the cheekbone, split open her skin. She's permanently scarred from it. And she called the police. And he has, for the last 9 months, been threatening us directly on the phone, through my other daughter, endlessly, that he was going to kill us if Tucker didn't drop the charges. Tucker didn't drop the charges. He's going to kill us. When my mother came home from the hospital last Monday, on Tuesday, I think it was, I had to go into my house. I was staying with her because she begged us to stay with her. She's afraid. She's afraid of Shane. She's afraid of dying. She begged us to stay with her. So we reluctantly stayed with her. We didn't want to be out there, but she begged us to stay with her. And when we were gone, my mother, who was so weak she couldn't even eat, I thought she was going to die. She was just marginally hanging on. She had almost died in the hospital. She had been in the hospital 3.5, 4 days. And we were just trying to get her back on her feet. He came in while I was gone. My daughter was in the house alone. He is not supposed to be anywhere near my daughter. There's a restraining order against him pursuant to his arrest and release orders. And he came in and told my mother that unless she signed this paper, this will, she thought it was. That's the way she told me, that it was a will.
Now, when did this happen, ma'am?
A week ago. I think it was a week ago Tuesday. Is today Tuesday? I have no idea.
Yes.
It could have been Monday, it could have been Tuesday. I'm not sure which day it was.
Okay.
Unless she signed this paper, he was going to kill me. Me. He was going to kill Kelly, he said to her. I'll kill her. I'll kill her, mother. You sign it or I'll kill her. And my mother signed this, what we thought was a will. And then Shane realized that he needed to have it witnessed or notarized, and he told my mother that he was going to bring a notary out. And I'm fine with that. He should have the will notarized. My mother can revoke the will immediately after, but at least he'll think that there's a will, and we will stop being the target. I was going to adulterate the will with additional language that said that if anything happened to my mother or my family or, or property damage or anything else, because we've had damage to our cars, that he would be immediately disinherited. But I was going to have her sign the will because I felt like that would take the targets off of us.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly explains that Shane is a very violent person whose only goal was to ensure his name was in their mother's will before she died. Shane had written up his own variation of the will, and he hired a notary as well. On the day he died, he had gone to his mother's house where the notary and a realtor would meet him, so his mother could sign the will.
The realtor went into the house, and I stayed in front of the realtor's car to make sure it was not vandalized. Mm-hmm. And Shane looked at me and he said, "Don't you f*** up my deal, Kelly. Don't you f*** up my deal. Or you and Tucker," and he made a gesture across his throat. And I said to him, "I'm not afraid of you, Shane. I'm not afraid of you. I'm terrified of him," but that's what I said to him. Always face down, a mad dog. Mm-hmm. He said, "I don't care whether you're afraid of me or not. You and Tucker." And he walked away. And yelled into the realtor. I see the realtor. I said, "You sent my daughter out here." And I told my daughter to come out, because I'm frightened. I'm really frightened. I'm screaming, "Tucker, where are you? Come!"
And that was what day?
That was today.
Today? The realtor was there today?
Yes.
Okay. What happens next?
We were waiting for the notary to show up. I had had my mother prepare in advance, because she writes very slowly, a renunciation of the will she signed earlier.
Okay.
And I was going to have the notary notarize that as well.
Okay.
And because honestly, I think that this will just put a big target on her back. But I also wrote down paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, that I was going to handwrite into Shane's will, which disinherited him instantly. If my mother or anybody in my family was injured or killed by him or persons known or unknown, if her property was vandalized or stolen by persons known or unknown, because he could very easily have somebody do the dirty work for him. I don't remember what else is there, but the document is there, the handwritten document, the draft, that I was then going to transcribe onto the will.
Okay.
Because Kelly's daughter Tucker had a restraining order against Shane, he had to drop off the will and return later when it was signed and notarized. Kelly explains that Shane was being very impatient.
He kept calling on the phone, and
Shane, is Shane pretty good about not coming into Mom's house when Tucker's there?
evidently not,
Okay.
because he was there when I was gone. He doesn't come in when I'm there, and
Okay.
we've been locking the doors. Tucker is very vigilant about locking the doors. Did you lock the door? Did you lock the door? We've been locking the doors. We're all afraid of Shane.
Walk us through what happens with the notary once the notary arrives, and kind of give us time frames, if you could.
And I was standing there and I said, "Oh my God, you're probably going to need ID from my mother to notarize her signature." It just occurred to me. And my mother doesn't have any ID. She has an old state identification card that is at least 5 years 5 years expired.
Okay.
And so we were looking for ID, found the expired ID. My daughter, that's it. That's when my daughter got involved. She found the ID in my mother's room. My mother kept insisting it was there in a box on the table, but Tucker found the ID in my mother's room, and I was trying to find other forms of ID, Medicaid card or whatever the hell these things are.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that opportunity to look at the document. I was going to annotate it with the paragraphs that would make it so that if Shane hurt anybody, he would be instantly disinherited, because I felt like that would be our insurance. We would be safe. I wouldn't have to worry about him anymore. And I looked at it, and it's a grant deed. Shane has tricked my mother into signing a grant deed, giving away the property to him and me. And I said, "Oh no, my mother is not signing this. This is her property. She's not signing this." And I ripped it into 4 pieces. And Shane was outside the sliding glass doors looking in. And he started to come around to the front door. And I thought to myself, "Oh my God, I didn't lock the front door." And I started for the front door, and I was trying to lock the door when he opened the door. He's telling me, "What are you doing? That property gives that." I said, "Mother's not signing a grant deed. This was supposed to be a will. It's good. Half of it's going to you. Half of it's going to you," he said to me. And I'm trying to shut the door, and he's shoving it into me. And I'm leaning forward trying to shut the door.
Take your time. It's okay.
He was trying to come in, and he was trying to hurt me.
Okay.
And God only knows what else he was going to do.
And the notary would have heard and saw all this.
I don't know. I was in the front hall, and she was in the dining area.
Okay. She would have heard it though, probably, huh?
I don't know. I don't know what she heard. I can't tell you what she heard.
Okay. And what happened next, then, Kelly?
That's the end of my statement.
You don't want to tell us what happened after that?
No, I don't.
Kelly tells the detectives that she is not talking about what happened after the point where she attempted to stop Shane from entering the house. The detectives realize that Kelly isn't going to change her mind, so they wrap up the interview and move on to Tucker.
It's so typical. He's going to terrorize us for 9 months, and then he's going to call and whimper to the police that he's afraid when he's the one who's hurting us.
Well, he obviously can't do that now. He's deceased. So.
I know. I'm so glad he's dead. I can't tell you. I don't grieve for my brother. I am glad this man is dead. I am so glad that he can't do this to us anymore.
Kelly, there's more at stake here. You know that.
Yeah,
There's your daughter's life.
I'm telling you that moments before my brother died, he was assaulting me at the door. He was causing me physical injuries. He was screaming at me. He was trying to force his way into a house he had no right to be in.
Did he have a weapon?
I have no idea. All I know is I can tell you that I was so scared I can hardly even picture the moment. It's like mice memories.
Okay.
Did you shoot him?
I don't think so. I don't know.
You don't think so? You don't know?
I can hardly remember. The trauma of that moment was so appalling and horrifying. I didn't know what Shane was going to do. I didn't know what Shane was going to do. It was horrifying.
I guess to be quite frank with you and straight with you, is I'm wonder why she's not telling us the rest of the story.
Wonder away. I'm telling you what happened.
Kelly?
The man was busting into the house, threatening me, threatening us all, and we were all terrified.
Did you touch the gun? Because there's a thing in the CAD sheet here that you were not cooperative on where the gun was.
I think somebody was seen walking around inside the house with or maybe the notary is telling the police that the gun.
Did you load the
I
gun?
had the gun and I hid the gun.
Okay.
Where did you hide it?
I hid it in a drawer so that it would not be accessible.
Okay. Where'd you get the gun originally? Where was it when you got it?
I found it in the house, on the table,
Okay.
Was that after the shooting or before?
after the shooting. I've never seen anything where I have been involved with police where the police did not lie. I have never.
Okay, well, I can't talk to you if you think I'm a liar because you're insulting my integrity as a detective.
I'm telling you, I don't trust police.
Okay, well, I've not sat here and called you a liar, have I?
I never lie.
Kelly is allowed to go home while the detectives move on to her daughter, Tucker. The police know Tucker is a good actor because she starred in a film called From the Dark, where her character uses self-defense as an excuse to commit murder. The detectives must decipher what is acting and what is real.
Bill and I talked to your mom, and then the other detectives were out at the scene talking to various people that were present, and that we know some family dynamics are involved here. We know that there's some history going on here, okay, and it's vital that we get it in your words and what you saw, what you were thinking, and things like that. That's what we offer to you at this point to do, okay? Because I can tell by talking to you in just a brief amount of time, this is not a normal day for you to end up here doing this.
No. My maternal uncle, Shane, has been pretty much weekly, I would say, threatening my life, my mother's life, I don't think ever my sister's life, my dog's life, and our property, as well as my grandmother's life. And we did everything that we were supposed to do. We called the police. He had assaulted me in September
We were not there. We don't have a video of this. This isn't like TV. We can't play this back in our minds or on a TV screen. Where was your mom at when Shane got shot?
My mom, where was she?
Yes.
She was at the door.
She was out the door. Why did she go to the door?
Because he was, the notary was sitting at the end of the table, and Shane's witness was sitting on a bench, the man who administered
The blackmail.
the African American man, Carlton.
Yes.
And I was in the kitchen, just to make sure that
Because your mom told us you were at one point in the bedroom watching the DNC.
Yeah, I kept going back and forth because I wanted to get the moment when Hillary got the nomination on my phone ready and then tweet it and be like, history made.
Okay.
So I kept going back and forth.
Did you see your mom tear up the document?
What happened was I saw Shane come around.
Where
and
was
he
Shane
was on the porch.
Was he pressed up against the glass?
No, he was standing because this is the important thing. As soon as my mom tore up the document, he ran towards the front door, which was unlocked.
Did you see him run?
Yes.
Okay.
And my mom, and I ran. This is the thing. My mom ran, and I could hear her making noises, and I started screaming, and this is where it gets hazy for me. I picked up the gun off the table because it was on the table. That's where my mother had put it. There was a napkin over it, so the notary wasn't scared. But that's where my mom didn't want anyone to be scared. But she had, once I showed her this gun, she was like, "Let's put it in a central place."
Okay.
So it's there. Everybody was screaming, from what I can remember, and Shane started opening the door and entering the house.
Okay.
And he was banging the door into my mother, and my mother was screaming, and he was screaming, and I had the gun, and I'm sorry.
Okay. Take your time.
I don't even remember what happened. I was like screaming, and I thought that you had to cock a gun for it to go off, and
Did the gun go off?
Yes. And I thought that it was gonna, yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Why did you pick up the gun? And there's no wrong or right answer here, Tucker. It's just we're trying to figure out.
I was absolutely sure he was going to kill my mother. He told her earlier in the day that he was going to kill her if she messed anything up for him, and she ripped pieces of paper up right in front of him.
And was that something that your mom told you, that he had made that threat, or did you hear him make that threat?
I didn't hear him make the threat.
And did your mom get that?
My mom told me, and she told me hours before this.
Why do you think your mom ran towards the door?
Because it wasn't locked.
So she was, and then did you actually see the door open?
Yes.
And did you see Shane open the door?
Yes.
So you could see that. You could see that Shane was in the opening of the door.
Yes.
And could you see your mom at the door?
Yes, trying to close it and lock it.
And could you see,
because there was a deadbolt on it.
Do you know if Shane had any weapons on it?
No, I couldn't see that. I kept hearing, the door makes a noise, and it kept hitting into her. But
could you see that, or were you just hearing it?
I was seeing and hearing it.
Hearing it. Do you know if your mom was struggling to try to shut the door?
There was screaming. I think that yes, that's my assumption.
Okay. And what's the notary doing at this time, do you know?
I think the notary and Carlton had no idea what was going on. So maybe they didn't see Shane.
Can you see the door from where you were initially sitting before?
I wasn't
when you
sitting,
saw
I was
Shane
standing.
run around?
Can I see the door from there? Yes.
Okay. Can the notary see the front door from where the table is?
No, she can't.
Because of that wall?
Yeah, the wall goes to about here, and this is, okay, so it's not like exactly to scale, but yeah, she's tucked there.
Who alerted everybody that Shane was running around the front?
I did.
Could you hear him running on the porch, or did you just see him take off that direction?
You can't hear it. It's pretty soundproof house.
So when he takes off, do you think he takes off because he sees your mom rip the paper off?
Absolutely, it was an immediate reaction.
100%?
Yes.
Okay. And he takes off running, so you're automatically assuming that he's running that way because he's going to come to the front door.
So my mom was against the door and trying to push the door, and I could see Shane, and he was trying to get in, and everyone was screaming, and...
Was Shane saying anything?
Yeah. Everybody was screaming. I have no idea. I don't even know.
Was Shane screaming?
Yes.
Okay.
I have no idea what people were screaming.
Okay.
I believe I saw his hands on the either side of, like, you know how, like, in horror movies, the hand goes around the door?
Right.
And he was, like, wedging himself so the door couldn't be closed again.
Okay. And how long do you think you get up to? You're thinking about 5 feet, 6 feet here?
And I was just screaming at him to leave.
How long do you think you're there before the gun goes off?
I don't know.
I mean, is this a long, drawn-out thing, or is it rather quick?
It wasn't long and drawn out. Everyone was telling him to leave, and
How are you holding the gun at this point?
it was only in one hand.
One hand. Okay, and
I think what he's asking you is, do you point the gun at him and tell him to leave?
right.
I sort of remember just sort of having it in the air.
Okay. Did you give
Like
any...
maybe some kind of thrusting motion.
What's important, Tucker, is did you give any kind of warning, like get out or...
Oh yeah, leave. You need to leave. You can't be here. You know you can't be here.
And are you
Get out.
pointing the gun at him and telling him to leave?
I'm not pointing the gun as I said that.
Okay.
I think I said I do have a gun.
Okay.
You need
And
to
is
leave.
he making any effort to stop what he's
No.
The detectives realized that this case could be seen two different ways. Because of Shane's many threats, his restraining order, and his attempt to get into the home, it could be seen as self-defense. However, Kelly and Tucker both admit that they did not see any type of weapon in Shane's possession, and one of the witnesses claimed that they heard Kelly yell, "What do you mean he's not dead yet?" after he was shot. Kelly also had motive for wanting Shane to be killed, because she had been fighting with him for years over their mother's multi-million-dollar property.
Where was he shot?
Where was he shot?
Shot
In the chest.
in the center of the chest.
Did you intentionally pull the trigger?
No, I might have, but I didn't think that it was cocked.
Did you know if the gun was loaded?
The gun, I'm pretty sure the gun was loaded. It was loaded earlier in the morning. I don't know how many bullets were in the chambers. It could have been empty.
I gotta ask something here. Going back to, and I think it's the hard question.
Yeah.
Look at me. Did you want to kill your uncle?
No.
Could you have, instead of running to get the gun, could you have ran to the phone and called 911?
Not before he hurt somebody. Not in my mind.
Okay, but you've been around him a couple times since this court case, and he hasn't hurt you. That's why I'm asking you.
He's hurt my mother in the past. He's threatened her with knives. He's shoved her repeatedly. He has thrown things at her. He threw things at me. I think I mentioned I've had to pick up shovels and things to keep him back.
Have you ever witnessed any of these things, or is it stuff your mom's told
Oh
you?
no, I was there. We've had large groups of people. And
The other issue the police have is that Tucker fired her grandfather's revolver before Shane arrived at the home. She then reloaded the gun, placed it on the table, and put a napkin over the top.
I was afraid, and I just was curious about this thing that I found. My grandfather collected revolvers for the longest time from the 1700s.
Did you think that, and I think I asked this once already, but I want you to clarify if I misunderstood you.
Okay.
You wanted to shoot the gun today to make sure it worked because you were worried that something could happen with Shane. Is that right, or is that wrong?
That makes it sound really bad.
No, it doesn't. It just
in my
says,
opinion.
no, if you were worried enough that you could be cause harm and that's why you wanted to shoot the gun to make sure it worked, and that doesn't make it bad, Tucker. Don't get me wrong there. I think you misunderstood me. Did you just want to, I mean, was it curiosity?
It was curiosity. It was also, I had this feeling in my head, maybe he'll hear the gunshot and he won't come around anymore.
There's been a lot of, I mean, it's pretty evident that your mom doesn't like her brother, your uncle.
At this point, yeah, I would bet.
And it sounds to me like you and your mom have had, you're filled with him. But would you agree or disagree with me right now that if you don't like somebody, even if you hated somebody, you don't have a right to shoot them, right?
Right.
Okay.
No, yeah.
In this particular case, what we need to do is clear out all suspicion that this was something that you shot him because you don't like him.
Right.
Okay.
I would never have done
And to end all the problems with all the threats and everything else.
Yeah. No, I would never have shot him in front of so many witnesses if it was just a case of me not liking him. I would not have done it.
Do you remember pulling the trigger?
No, yes, I don't know.
Okay.
I just remember being really afraid for my mom and for me as he pushed the door open more and more.
Yeah, and here's, to be quite frank with you, Tucker, I understand what you're going through, and where you're coming from. But at the same time, he doesn't have any weapons. There's a notary there.
I didn't know if he did or not.
I understand that, but you can't just assume things.
Obviously, I know.
There's a human life that's no longer with us, and there's laws.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out that there's a district attorney here we've been briefing, and that's listened to some of the interview, and it's, she's ultimately the one that has to make the decision.
Yeah.
As to what you're going to be lodged on today. And you are going to be lodged.
Okay.
I'm not going to beat around the bush on that, but we will let you know what the charges are.
Tucker was charged with manslaughter and she was released on bail. A few weeks later, Tucker's lawyer gave the police a video Tucker recorded on her phone the day she shot Shane. He believed it would prove she acted in self-defense. The video shows everyone seated around the table. Shane comes up to the home and begins looking through the glass. He appears calm, but when he sees Kelly rip up the will, he walks around to the front door. The video shows Kelly running to stop him from entering the home, and Tucker following close behind. As soon as Tucker is able to see Shane in the doorway, she fires the weapon. When the prosecution received this video, they immediately upgraded her charges to murder. The video that was meant to show Tucker acted in self-defense did the exact opposite. Tucker would take the case to trial, where she was offered a plea deal. In exchange for her guilty plea to manslaughter, she would receive 6 years in prison. With time served, Tucker's release date was November 25th, 2024. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you think Tucker acted in self-defense, or was it murder? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.